How's it going, everyone? And welcome to episode 1 of Classic Gaming for the Modern Gamer. Today we're going to talk about one of my favorite games of all time and a great unsung classic of the 8-bit era, The Guardian Legend. The Guardian Legend was developed by Compile in 1988 and published in North America by Broderbund. But what a lot of people don't realize is that The Guardian Legend is actually a sequel. In Japan, the game released as Gardic Gaiden with far superior box art to the American version, and was a sequel to the original game Gardic.
Gardic was developed by Compile in 1986 for the MSX computer in Japan. While classified as a shoot-'em-up, it has a lot of features that were not standard for this genre of game. You have a power level, which you can use for multiple things, such as buying power-ups at the start of a stage to improve movement speed or the size of your shot, to using them in Randar's shop that drops down in some stages to purchase extra lives, a barrier, or even just bonus points for your score. To clear each screen, you must destroy all of the enemies on that screen. Gardic is a maze of these one-room shooter stages, with branching paths that you have to explore to get to all of the different screens and navigate your way to your target and complete the game. Capsules in some stages allow you to replenish your power points so that you can continue to use power-ups for your ship. You have to manage your power points wisely, else you could get stuck on a hard screen with no points to improve your abilities.
If you're interested in playing the original Gardic and you own an iDevice, Gardic was released in 2011 in an emulated form in the iOS App Store by D4 Enterprises, and is still available for purchase for $3.99. Unfortunately, the game was not released in the Android marketplace. But now let's get into the heart of the matter, which is the Guardian Legend. While a sequel to Gardic, it is not very similar to the game except for some pieces of the soundtrack that were used and some slight graphic concepts. It is a hybrid of two genres, which was very unusual for the time period that it came out. At first it seems like it's just another shoot-'em-up. That's not necessarily a bad thing. A lot of great shoot-'em-up games came out during the 8-bit era. However, upon defeating the first boss, things change up rather dramatically. Soon you find yourself wandering a maze of rooms not dissimilar to the way the original Zelda plays. You wander through the maze, collect power-ups, and search for corridors that lead to more shoot-'em-up sections. In some rooms, while you're wandering the corridors, a siren will go off and the area will start to block itself off. It's in these areas you'll find yourself fighting one of the many sub-bosses in the game, like this spider boss right here. While these bosses start out very simple, towards the end of the game they can be pretty challenging. Each one always gives you another weapon that you can use to enhance your abilities. You also find power-ups like this red lander here, which is used to increase your maximum chip capacity, which allows you to use your sub-weapons more often and improves the width of your main gun at certain points of progression. Upon finding and unlocking a corridor, you would finally find out what had happened to the ship that you flew in earlier. That's right, you transform into the ship and then back into a person. Once entering a corridor, you fly through another shooter stage, defeating enemies along your path, until eventually you hear the siren and approach another boss. Some bosses, upon defeating them, give you a key as well as the weapon that you get upon defeating the corridor. These keys are very important as they are used to open up new areas of the overworld exploration map and get you into different areas within the game. While the map starts out small, by the time all the keys are collected, the game has gotten rather large and filled out quite well. There's also quite a bit of diversity in the different environments, from the aqua areas that you go into first. After the aqua areas, you hit the jungle areas, followed by the crystal areas, the organic areas, and then finally the wasteland. Now, one thing that should definitely be mentioned at this point, the Guardian Legend is very much an original 8-bit Nintendo game. 8-bit Nintendo games were not known for being easy. And as you get later into this game, the difficulty level does come to a point that you just don't see in modern games today. The challenge level, it curves up really well. It lets you build to it. And it never gets so hard that it becomes unfair or impossible to play through. But it definitely is going to make you sweat repeatedly. You get to a point where they're sending so much at you that does so much damage and can take so many hits to kill, you have to use sub-weapons just to help you get through the main stage, let alone through fighting the bosses. Using your sub-weapons wisely, as well as having good reflexes and paying attention, can get you through pretty much every situation. The sub-bosses even become significantly more difficult and are able to do ridiculous amounts of damage towards the end. But if you can enjoy a good, fair challenge, this is definitely a game that you'll get a lot of enjoyment on, and it will definitely test you as you play through. So at this point, I've talked a lot about the game. I've talked about the great, unique setting, the wonderful hybridization of two great genres between shoot 'em up and the walk-around adventure, a great difficulty curve that's challenging but never ridiculously hard to the point that you can't do it. It's never unfair, to the variations in the environment. But there's one thing that I still have to talk about, and is one of the most incredible things about this game, and that's the soundtrack. This game has some of the best music that I have ever heard, and quite honestly, I think it's some of the best music, period, of the 8-bit era. So I'm going to stop talking, and I'm going to let the music itself do the talking for me. So there you have my thoughts on the great 8-bit classic, The Guardian Legend. So why do I think this is a great game for people to play today that have never gotten to experience much from the 8-bit era? Several reasons. First of all, it's actually a fairly common title and not too expensive. You can usually find several copies on eBay, and any used game store in your area that still sells old Nintendo games will likely have a copy. It's pretty common to find. Also, the tight controls, interesting setting, and great gameplay hold their own against the games of today, especially with the craze of retro games that have been sweeping the marketplaces lately, and all of the great retro-styled games that have been coming out from independent developers. Also, the game has quite a bit of replay value. Once you beat the game the first time through, at the end of the credits sequence, you'll receive a special password, which allows you to play through the game in shooter mode only. When playing in this mode, it all becomes about the score you earn in each shooter stage, as the different sub-weapons and power-ups that you unlock between stages will all be determined by the score that you earn. There's other ways you can try to vary up the gameplay on subsequent playthroughs as well, such as choosing only select sub-weapons, choosing not to use specific sub-weapons, maybe trying to get through the game without using any of this enemy erase or smart bombs. So there's a lot of ways you can spice the game up. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the show here. I hope you really enjoyed it, and thank you for watching. Please feel free to subscribe to the channel, like the video. If you have any feedback, I'd love to hear it. Go ahead and comment down below. Thanks for watching, and we'll look forward to seeing you again next time.